We went with an open mind. I hadn't got a clue what the place was like. And it was not a church, okay? Definitely not a church.
I think I stumbled into a place that didn't expect me, but opened their arms and made me welcome.
It was the buzz of the place, it was the warmth of the relationships, it was the beauty, you know, all the effort set on making the table look lovely and putting flowers everywhere.
So we were having these amazing, amazing cakes that his wife made.
Things you remember, Deirdre?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
cake.
Well, it was a very good way of convincing us that we should go and see them.
Well, it was their hospitality
Their
too,
hospitality, of course it was.
If you walked into a tea break in the middle of the morning now, I think you'd find that the atmosphere is very much the same as it was 30 years ago.
People you thought you'd never even talk to or spend time with, you end up loving and really embracing. And L'Abri was a place where you learn that kind of thing. And you saw that, even sharing room with people who didn't want to be with you.
You know, we've noticed the drawbacks, the problems, the pitfalls to some degree. But God's still using it.
I think one of the things that we felt really strongly as when we were working there, and I suspect it's still something that L'Abri and students who are leaving struggle with, is you know, how do you, in one sense, how do you translate that experience of community to going back to your normal everyday life, wherever?
Would you mind helping grab some mugs from the top row and putting them out? Thank you. Caroline, isn't it? I'm Erin. It's lovely to meet you and thank you for helping.
What colour would Ford like? Yellow. I think that goes with his corduroy.
Ellie, what was it like the day you arrived at L'Abri?
Oh, I got to the platform at Liss and I saw a lady looking like she was walking with purpose. So I just approached her. I was like, "Are you going to this L'Abri place?" And then she showed me, and Isabel.
It was Isabel.
It was Isabel. Yes, I took a chance and it paid off.
It was a good chance.
It was a good chance.
Do you remember what it was like when you first came up to the door?
Oh. I was going into another realm, to Narnia.
Towel, please.
Come into my own hair.
Chocolate, please.
Oh, yes. Now, where did we eat the chocolates?
Eat them?
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm also a reader. So the fact that all of the ways, the rhythms of L'Abri, that you show up and you're like, what is this place? I have to be where, when, what's optional, what's, yeah, the fact that I can reference, people will tell you things and you're like jet lagged and you have no idea what's going on.
So what does it say?
Oh. Guidelines for our guests. Welcome to English L'Abri! ! The following is a guide to orient you to life at L'Abri with some principles to look out for as we try to live in community. L'Abri is a community of people committed to the truth that God is there and involved in every moment of our day, even this moment. In our commitment to our Creator and therefore to each other, we encourage everyone here to engage in the tremendous opportunities to interact with so many unique people. Living in such an individualistic society, this can be quite challenging, but it can also be most life-giving. And so as a guest of our community, we invite you to the following.
I think there are two reasons why we have to break. And I'll give you the first reason, and Gracie will give you the second reason.
Is one to have tea.
Yes. That is the first reason why
Good.
we have tea break.
I feel like it's a good place, it's a good time for everyone to just gather again in a less formal setting. It's like we will have breakfast together and then lunches we will have separately usually, and then dinners as well. So it's just a nice time to have together and not have to have a profound.
So this is pretty profound.
This is pretty profound, yes, but.
It's wild. Maybe we talked about this yesterday, but it's just wild to me how much I was so nervous on the train coming down from London, and I was like, there's no way it can be as good as it was before. There's no way. And in a lot of ways, like, it feels so different, but it's also exactly the same. Like, so different because all the people are different and the characters in the story are different, but in all the same in the sense of like, it's the same closeness with people that you hardly know. It's the same volleyball in the afternoon. It's the same, like, I don't know, the flowers are in bloom this time. They weren't before, but the table behind it has the same plates with the same blue little placemats. And like, there was nothing to be worried about. It was here. It was just here being solid and real the whole time I was gone.
Well, you're doing poetry, aren't you?
Today I was reading poetry, but that's because my mind was kind of discombobulated. And this feels like a nice way to kind of, poetry makes you have to like follow the rhythm of somebody else.
Yes. I've
quite
been
nice.
reading the book about L'Abri. Have you must have read it?
By demonstration?
Yes, and so many wonderful things.
Yeah.
And this is the best one. So the thing, when you say to someone, how did you hear about L'Abri?
Oh yeah.
What you're actually asking is, what is it that God organised in your life? Like, how did He bring you here?
Yeah.
So it's actually a very profound question.
Yeah. Wait, how did you hear about L'Abri?
You asking me?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this.
Okay. So, well, she will be here on Friday. Yeah, okay. Okay, sometime after 10 o'clock, I would call. Thank you very much. Cheers, bye. We do get people who come in and you're going, where in the world did you hear about us and how did you know? And we had somebody, this was many years ago, who came and he had just Googled community, had no idea what we were about, and just came, and it was interesting. And you know, there used to be a phone booth here, and you hear him on the phone talking. Yeah, and they believe, we've been reading the Bible, and they believe what it actually says. It's amazing. And it was just like, where did you come from? How did you find us?
How do people hear about L'Abri? Well, it's the first question we have for every person who comes, and we try to be a little bit subtle about not sort of all of us asking everyone the same question in every conversation, but it is my main question of almost everyone who walks in the door of, how did you hear about L'Abri? I remember one guy who showed up who didn't call ahead or anything. He just came, and we were completely full. He ended up sleeping on a mattress in the first floor hallway. And he met someone on the underground in London, and they started talking about whether there was a God. And he said he had a lot of questions about it, and this person said, if you have questions about that, there's this place down in Hampshire. You get onto this train, and you take it to Les, and they will talk with you about those questions that you have. And he came, and he stayed. But it's the question we ask everybody. How did you come to L'Abri?
So my family moved over here in 2006, and we lived here for 2 years in Liss. My dad pastored the International Presbyterian Church in Liss for 2 years. That's why we moved over here, was because he got that job. And we were sort of L'Abri adjacent for those 2 years, and my parents were around here some. Yeah, and I remember sort of like clear memories of being here and being in the manor and being on the grounds. It's just really interesting to just reflect on the person I was then. I mean, as a 5-year-old, growing up in a very faithful and very religious environment, and then sort of leaving that, I think creates a lot of those questions and those thoughts of, I think I have had thoughts of like, wow, what has happened to me? And not even in a despairing way, because I feel mostly comfortable and sort of at peace with where I currently am. But I just think sort of a marveling at like, wow, I don't think I ever could have predicted that I would end up here.
I started to ask, how can I imagine a better country? And then I came across the thought of this little sculpture here. What does it remind you of? What does it look like? Would someone like to try and lift it up? Just up an inch. So is that heavy? So what is heavy, terrifying, tender, light on the inside, threatening to kill you on the outside, break your back if you try to lift it up? And there are 10 of them.
So the 10 Commandments?
Well done. I thought, what would it be like if we took one of the commandments per table, which is what we're going to do now, And I want you to imagine the economic, sociological, and psychological changes that would happen if everyone everywhere in your city said, we are going to keep this one commandment. What community requires is courage. So the courage to be honest. But in order to be honest, you need to wrestle alone with God. So who am I? What's driving me? What's motivating me? What do I really want? All those kinds of questions. And what you get at L'Abri often is enough space in the community, enough honesty, enough somebody looking after your meal so you don't have to think about what you're going to do for food, and enough people organizing the life around you so that you can rest into it and you can be honest. And then slowly in that rest, things start to emerge.
Right. Oh. Great. Good. Let's pray then. We've got some porridge, usual things, tea, coffee, toast. Thanks, Erin, getting up, making the porridge. Anything special to say about the porridge, or just? It's just porridge. Great. With there's some nice brown sugar to put on top. Great. Good. Let's pray then. Let's pray. One of the amazing things in a way about L'Abri is it's been here for 50 years, and L'Abri internationally since 1955, is that it's still here, because all these communities, when it started in the 50s, 60s, 70s, all these hippie communities started, and they, most of them ended terribly. They imploded, and there were, all kinds of things that went on. Yeah, so there's got to be something more, and I think that's one of the things that I've come to see, is that actually you need something. I know this might sound strange, but more than friendship that would bind you together. Actually, something that you're doing together, which you couldn't do yourselves, just as individuals. And for L'Abri, that is, as Schaeffer said, that together what we're trying to do is to demonstrate the existence and the reality of God and his character, and the reality of supernaturally restored relationships. A lot of young people, or all kinds of people today, are really searching for community and longing for it, but it's not the solution to all your problems. Maybe in some senses your problems just begin when you start to live with other people in community.
I suppose I haven't lived with so many people before. I've loved that. That's slightly different to my normal life, in that having a community of so many different types of personalities and ages and walks of life, and you're sharing every meal together. I love that. I really love it. And it takes me out of myself as well, because I usually live on my own, so there's something about rubbing alongside people who very different to me is quite refreshing, and I've really enjoyed that. Even different people's sense of humour here and seeing what people find funny, yeah, I love.
Another thing that Labree's really helped me with so far is just appreciating other people more, right? It's like I was working in customer service for so long, and every person was, it got to a point where every person is just like just another face, just another, like, it's very impersonal. Either you're not, as much as I hate to say this, you don't feel like you're dealing with another soul, another like equal being so much. Like I didn't see them as inferior. They never really registered as a person, I think. And that's where like Labree, yeah, it's really helped me to appreciate the gift that is other people, the beauty and the joy of that comes from just being with other people, playing volleyball with them, like playing a game of Werewolf or Seven Wonders, just board games, drinking tea.
There we go, guys. I'm looking forward to this meal, really. It's a favorite, one of the favorites in this home. So thanks, Ford, for helping me with this. Shall we just pray? Lord, thank you for this beautiful day, for this meal that we're about to have, for the diversity in culture, and for the good gifts of creation. We give you thanks, and be with us as we spend this time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
What a question, and sorry, I think it takes us a few steps sort of back. But I find your question very helpful about context. So within jazz, dissonance is, like it's much more pronounced than within a sort of Western choral tradition. Right. And for jazz, it's right that it's dissonant in the way that it is. And within relationships, as we've been talking about, it's not black and white relationally, but also musically, it's not black and white whether something is dissonant because it depends on the context.
I was actually thinking off of that perhaps, depending on the context, to sit in the dissonance is the thing that's required. And eventually, change will happen, but maybe there's something about what are we trying to do together in this community. Maybe it's a time that's appropriate to have conflict because there's a sense of mourning or there's something that's happened that is just as much about sitting in the dissonance as when it comes time to move towards some sort of resolution as well.
I think the things we do there are very ordinary, really. It's just reflecting as we sit around a table for a lunch discussion. This is so simple. But I think in this world that was so kind of distracted and disconnected from each other, that becomes powerful. Just to have an hour and a half when you can sit and listen to people and respond and have a conversation. That's nothing extraordinary there. It's just very simple. But I think that this is becoming more and more rare. So I think we do offer a ordinary way of being, really. But somehow we believe that God is in it and that would reflect and be, meaningful to people that are here.
Okay, so you're saying Zane, you're saying there's like this, it starts at home and then there's kind of like the journey and then it ends back at this, at home, and it's this like nice sort of finish, but that's like not a universal experience in music and also in life. So like in jazz, there's dissonance in the chords,
sometimes
and they don't need to, and they don't need to be resolved. And I think if, for instance, if you're raised on jazz, you probably don't always end the song being like, oh, wait, whereas you probably should being like, yeah, that's the end. It ends like that. I have no problem with it ending that way. And so then I guess in like relationship to life, like this nice like arc of life and it ends well and we're in a better place. And that's not a universal objective experience for, I don't know, like most people.
Perhaps the longing for it is universal.
Sure, yeah, probably so. But I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I think I have a lot of questions about
how can we know truth, or can we know truth, and how certain should we feel of truth? Like, is it intellectually and morally responsible to build our lives around something that we think to be true, but we can't know it to be true? I think I have a lot of questions about that. I think I have a lot of questions about Christianity in general, and I think I have a lot of questions about, can I, is it responsible for me to align myself with a set of beliefs that manifest in so many people in such an ugly and violent way? And is there something in the beliefs that actually sort of spurs that on, or are these beliefs that are totally pure and blameless, and it's just sort of the brokenness of the people that embody them that corrodes them and sort of bastardizes them? I think I have a lot of questions about that.
Every term is different. Some terms you've got mostly Christians, some terms you've got many people who aren't and explicitly aren't and know they aren't. And so I tend to think of people as human beings first. I want to say around my lunch tables, that's a very Christian question. Can we expand that a bit? How would we expand that a bit to make it open for everyone? The questions we deal with are human questions fundamentally, not religious ones.
Lots of people say, like, how come at L'Abri you hold together, a very classical, traditional view of Christianity with being able to ask questions, and you're so open to questions, and actually the two really go together. When Francis Schaeffer was giving an address to the Lausanne conference, he put those two things together, and he said those are Christianity is true, and therefore we can ask questions. We don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be afraid there won't be answers. At least, again, he said not exhaustive answers, but sufficient answers that really make sense. Because if you're afraid something's not true, you can't ask questions. I think that's why, kind of repressive regimes, they stop people asking questions because they know that it won't hold together. But if it is true, we can really trust it will hold together.
The first time that I came, I was struggling with the difference. Well, I mean, my question was something to the effect of like, how do we know that God is real? And the worker at Swiss L'Abri at the time had said something along the lines of like, that's the wrong question to ask. Like, if you're looking for confidence in God, that's one thing. But if you're looking for certainty in God, he's not going to give you that. Like, God is the type of being that you have to have faith in. And if you have certainty, then you don't have faith. And that was really difficult for me to process through. I think from a tradition perspective, I come from a tradition where people are very head focused. And so that was pretty radical. And then...
But that was Swiss L'Abri?
That was Swiss L'Abri, yeah. So not pictured in this film.
You'll have to imagine.
You'll have to imagine the Alps. And then I think the first time I came to English L'Abri, my question was about like being frustrated and apathetic with God. And I think I've been, over the past 3 weeks or so, have been really helped by conversations on that. Marsh said something to the effect of like, before the fall, God says it's not good for man to be alone. And in saying that, it's God recognizing that God is not enough for us. And that's not due to any insufficiency in God. That's due to God knowing that we are designed for community and we're designed for one another. And like perhaps in me asking this question about God's nearness, what I really meant was, God, I want you to be something that I can only get from other people.
Come on, that boss!
Look, what you need to understand
about the walk to the pub. The most critical piece is that my favorite part of it is the Ham Barn Business Park.
I heard Dawn one time talk to a Wiccan lady who talked to an angel who was in front of Labrie.
There are a lot of links there. That's it, yeah.
You should at least talk to Dawn.
We need to interview the lady.
Yeah.
The Wiccan lady. Let's get her here right now. She's actually just inside. She's just going to sit here, yeah?
It's actually me.
Oh, yeah, my
a lot has
friend,
changed
yeah.
since then.
Wow.
No, we were talking about... Go ahead.
I was just saying, was the sign broken or did someone break it to give it the vibe? Did you
What
get
sign?
me? What sign? The welcome to Labrie, which is like cracked.
It's broken? It's
like
broken?
us, like all of us. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
I have a selfie of me by the sign when I came in.
That's not in the spirit of Labrie. I think you should delete that. Sketch it. Sketch the sign.
I definitely
Yeah.
was washing dishes today and thought, I could just quit my job. They need helpers
Everyone
for fall
does this.
term.
Everyone does it. So I was talking to Erin and Christina, and we were saying, I was like, does anyone else look at property prices in the area and consider moving here? No, yes, and it's not possible. Like
It's
we've
not
checked and we
possible.
can't.
What is the average property price in this area?
If we all pitched in together,
Yeah, I mean, perhaps
we could make our own little.
I think we
Yeah,
should
I think
buy a
so.
large house, like maybe 10,000 square feet, big kitchen, big dining room.
Yes. We can make our way, couldn't we?
Maybe from the last line of the chorus.
Yeah, something smooth guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of gives it some tension. The E.
Thank you very much.
I started making the cards maybe about a year ago. Yeah, I found I really loved making stamps and stuff, and making cards from them. Yeah, I also just like making people feel special and seen, and yeah, that's why I like doing birthday cards as well.
That birthday party for Ellie when you barely even known her that long.
I know, that was I think that was the peak for me. I couldn't do anything better than that. That was great. I had so much fun doing that. Because she had mentioned that it was her birthday, and I thought it was on a Thursday, and it was supposed to be a nice day, and no one really knew each other very well at that point, but it was lovely. Yeah, people definitely bonded over that.
Oh, let me.
That was uneven ground.
It was stuff with boys.
When did you start making the goodbye cards for people?
When I came to L'Abri, I felt that when people, especially people who had been here for a long time, left, it just kind of felt like a sudden goodbye, and often having something physical, whether that be a card or, I don't know, someone giving you something, is always nice as a memory. So I hope that people find it like a nice memory of the people that they'd spent their time with, and hopefully some nice words from them as well. I just love L'Abri, and I think it's a great place. And it's better than going back, living at home, and finding a job that I don't like. So I'm glad to be doing something more productive and have a place where I can try and figure out what I actually want to do.
How about this? You've transitioned from L'Abri to home before.
I have.
Once or twice?
6 times.
6 times. Okay, see, they're the perfect person to talk about this. What was that transition like? Because for me, I'm like, there's so many things about L'Abri and that I want to be able to carry over into everyday life.
What are you finding that you want to take with you?
The idea of hospitality, for sure. And I think we've talked about that a little bit before. Just touched on it. Yeah, how I relate to other people, how embedded I am in, like, let's say, a church community.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality of life outside of L'Abri is that most things just happen slower.
Yeah.
Like relationships take more time when you're not living in the same house, and
L'Abri's like hitting fast forward on a
right,
relationship.
yeah, like when it's like a greenhouse for relationships.
Yeah, oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because I think one thing we get at L'Abri that you don't often get with friendships and day-to-day life is the side-by-side aspect.
Is the day-to-day part of day-to-day
Yeah, the
life.
day-to-day, the side-by-side. At least for me, most of my time with friends outside of L'Abri can just be like sitting across a coffee table, like talking.
Yeah.
But to get the side-by-side, like living, working, the real sharing life together, it just takes more time. So I think that's probably the thing that's been most helpful for me to remember, because otherwise it can feel disappointing going back and feeling like what we have at L'Abri is so much richer and like more real, and it's not true.
Well, but there is some of that where it's like everything feels more real.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm worried about that.
What's the policy on waking people up at the end of the sessions? Because if I don't know them too well, I don't want them to, if I wake them, like, will they scream? Like, I wake up people that I've known and, like, had a chat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they just arrived, do you leave them be?
Well, I think you could wake them up, then you could run so that they don't know it's you.
Okay. I'm
Or you
afraid
wake them up and you turn around, you sit at the desk, and you're like, and then they just wake up and they think they've just startled themselves awake. And that's always fun to watch too. So.
AJ, join the bench.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it didn't take much.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my hard-hitting question: how many pillows do you sleep with, and why?
One
2.
folded over here.
Whoa.
I fold mine to make it feel like it's 2.
Ooh.
Are you a side sleeper?
Speaking of which, my mom said that I explained your method of salad preparation to her, and she said what a waste of a pot that you don't need.
Strong words from your mother. Would you put her on speakerphone to me now? I'm willing to respond.
What would you say? Wait, let me record a video and I'll send it to her.
Yeah, no, put that contraband device away.
I'm outside.
Hello is a fine young man.
I might be off for my walk.
Are you looking for confirmation?
Yeah, I'm just seeing how it feels coming out of my mouth.
You may.
Try that hat on. See if it fits.
Does everyone feel okay about it? I'm gonna take a quick walk around and see how my body adjusts to the movement.
Okay. Go track that. Has he ever walked before? Is this his first walk?
He looks a little bit like a cartoon Jesus.
Feeling nice.
Only from behind.
It might evolve more into this.
Welcome to Addie's talent show. The first act is going to be Peter Mers with his tin whistle.
You know, there's this kind of Christianity which is all about seeing our problem is that we're human. I think that's the wrong perspective because God created us to be human beings. When you read in Genesis, chapter 1, after he'd created human beings, God said it was very good. So our problem isn't that we're human, it's that we're fallen or sinful human beings. And what he's doing in Christ is restoring our humanity.
Thank you for coming to the talent show. The end.
Jono, you're not going to open the windows and doors and play with Monday Night Brownies for us?
Yeah, Jono, we need Monday.
I thought you were going to do that.
It's only if people really want it.
Yeah. You need brownies.
So that's always been a part of the ethos of L'Abri, that what we are trying to do is live out the spirituality of our humanness rather than sort of a church spirituality or a very religious one. But actually, all of life is the gift of God and part of our spiritual life in Him. So a lot of L'Abri is about encouraging people to become more human.
Do you think that 10 years in, 10 years into living here as a family, do you think, has it gotten easier? What has it been like? Yeah, what was it like at the moving back to L'Abri after knowing it as a single worker and that being a quite different experience than being here as a family?
Has it gotten easier? Some things have gotten easier. Some things as I've just grown and matured as a person and as a Christian have gotten easier. Like, it's easier for me to trust God that He's going to use me as me rather than use me as my best self that I'm presenting to somebody, or rather than use me when I feel really eloquent and wise. I think my experience of times that I'm really aware that the Lord has chosen to somehow use me in people's lives is more by me just being myself and being willing to cry with people, or being willing to invite them into my living room that has children bouncing all over it, and at a time when I know they actually need my one-on-one attention. Yeah. But God gifts them with time in my family instead. And one story, one memory that I have is of a dear girl that I was tutoring who had really experienced a lack of her parents' attention, and her parents had been in the ministry and had so prioritized what they felt called to. It was at the expense of their children, and particularly this daughter. And she was so hurt and wounded, and I think what she presented to me was how much she needed me not to fail her, like her parents had failed her. And there was one time that I was tutoring at the back of the property in the Hermitage, and it was evening, it was dark, and I was tutoring this girl, meeting with her, and she was crying and just processing, and I was with her, and she had my full attention. And then I looked past her and I saw my daughter's face plastered against the window, and she had tears coming down her cheeks, and she had just found me, and she wanted me, she needed me. And I made the call at that time to tell the girl that I was with that my daughter needed me. And I just wrapped up our tutorial and went to my daughter, and I felt so much that night when I prayed. I was like, oh, Lord, I don't know why that happened. What I wanted to give to this girl was the reality of focus and care and attention being given to her. But she ended up reflecting to me in the coming weeks. She reflected to me that what she needed was to see me parenting my daughter the way she needed to be parented. She didn't need to be parented by me. Right. She needed to be, to see me caring for my daughter in a way that she knew was right. And even though it meant that at that moment she didn't receive what she felt she needed, she saw something being modeled. And actually, it was like it was a turning point for her. Yeah. But I find myself, obviously, very moved by that, and by stories like that of seeing God at work, kind of despite us sometimes, and kind of in and through the messiness of our lives, rather than through the kind of well-presented, sort of carefully modulated.
Sparkly, well spoken. Yeah, like
exactly.
Business becoming a term for his own reason.
Yeah, dairy farming still works.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I don't know this guy.
You should find your
So true.
Okay, I think we're ready to begin, everyone. So welcome to our flat. And yeah, it's Wednesday evening, so one of you.
Yeah, Grace and I made bread rolls and a chicken filling to go inside the bread rolls, and then a coleslaw salad for you to enjoy, I hope, and some cucumbers and lettuce to go inside the sandwiches. So just the thing to be careful of, just be aware of the numbers. I think there's plenty of food, but just be aware not to sort of pile on the chicken until you make sure everyone's gone through, and then please go back for seconds.
Right, let me give thanks and we'll begin.
Ready?
See that? I've been in my grandpa.
Let's just go say yes.
I'm trying to help myself.
How did your day been?
Are you melancholic about leaving?
Am I melancholic? It's mixed feelings. It's yeah, I miss home, but at the same time, I'm really gonna miss it here. Miss the people. Miss the space. And the rhythm of life here, I think. There's something like almost liturgical about it. It's, yeah. For a little while there, I was like, I have a tendency towards solitude just because I'm an introvert. And for a while there, I was like, you know what, I could live on my own. Like, I wouldn't mind it. But now I'm like, no, I couldn't. Life's made to be experienced with other people. It's just, yeah, you need people to be there to hear you sing, and you need, well, or to sing the harmonies, you know? Because I can't sing the harmonies. I can hold the tune, but I can't sing the harmonies. No. Yeah.
Francis, it's been lovely to have you here. I'm so glad you're able
It's been really great.
make it. Enjoy the rest of your time.
Yeah, you gotta write something in the book because it's gonna.
Should I make it anonymous?
Yeah. Depends whether you want to be tracked for what you say. Or you're going to come up with something beautiful.
Oh, I'm not.
You will.
I really am not.
All right, I'm gonna read some descriptions of people, and you guys don't say it, but in your mind, ascribe them to people here at L'Abri.
Oh, okay.
The lovers, the crusty old writer, the independent woman painter, the awkward young academic.
That's me. What's this? I'm offering it. It's been
That's funny.
No, well, you are, I think.
No.
I'm staying, but it's been a joy. Keep going to the Celestial City.
That's further up and further in.
Yeah, we are. Beyond the barricade. We will meet again.
Tell people when they see in the kingdom.
Which I mean totally accurately. Like, I really do mean that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, some of these fools that I've walked through this door, I would not say that to them, but certainly I would say. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm a universalist, so I actually say to literally anyone.
See all of you in the kingdom.
Hi.
A pleasure. Oh. Hug line. See you forward.
Hi, Princess.
Good to get to know you. You too. And good luck with your studies.
Thank you. You too.
Gracie.
AJ. Pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing some of your low threshold for the white with me.
Stand by.
I just hope I can carry over a bunch of the L'Abri ways of life into the outside world, and I don't know what that would look like. Right?
What do you think that does look like?
That's a good question.
Seeing people go who you care for, that's what I found the hardest. Because you do really miss them. Yeah, because you get to know individuals in such a special way. And you notice it, like it does change things. One of the things I find hard is the comings and goings. The comings are great, but they can be a little tricky, all these new people. And then the goings are, oh, now you're having to say goodbye to these people. And it's the students and also the workers. Because you do build strong relationships. I always say the heaven's going to be a place where you don't have to say goodbye.
Before Francis left, I told him I was glad he was going to have a couple of days in London so that he could have some chew and swallow time. Because when you leave L'Abri, like, you've just had this immense experience. I mean, especially if you've been here for a couple of weeks or more. I guess he'd been here for 5 weeks, something like that at that point. And you need time to process that. Like you're just drinking from a fire hose. Like you are both literally and metaphorically eating this enormous feast, and you need time to kind of process through that. And so when he was leaving and gonna take a couple of days before he went back to Hamilton to think about, okay, take a breath, take a beat. What happened in these past few weeks? What do I need to bring back into my life? What really is God trying to do? Like, that's essential.
How do I have it? I have it. What are you gonna do? You've got power in you. I'm George.
It's bad enough.
Said Eeyore, almost breaking down.
Being miserable myself. What with no presents and no cake and no candles. And no proper notice taken of me at all.
Outside his house, he found Piglet, jumping up and down, trying to reach the knocker.
Hello, Piglet.
Hello, Boo.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to reach the knocker. I just came round.
Let me do it for you,
said Pooh kindly. So he reached up and knocked at the door.
What a long time whoever lives here is answering this door.
And he knocked again.
But Pooh, it's your own house.
Oh, so it is. Well, let's go in. Good morning, Owl.
Good morning, Pooh.
Many happy returns of Eeyore's birthday.
What are you giving him, Pooh?
I'm giving him a useful pot to keep things in, and I wanted to ask you...
Is this it?
When Eeyore saw the pot, he became quite excited.
Why? I believe my balloon will just go into that pot.
He was taking the balloon out and putting it back again, as happy as could be. The end.
So, Scouts and Spies. We should talk strategy.
I don't like losing. That's why I have anxiety right now. How do you think you're gonna feel when we lose?
It might also be nice to have some Scouts and Spies just so that we at least can be aware of what's going on.
Maybe you sort of ride by the front door and scatter a bunch of chairs so it's really difficult. A barricade. Wait, should we make a barricade? Wait, should we make a barricade?
Does anyone look at Scareface?
Yeah, let's see Scareface. Scareface. Oh, that's good.
Why are we wasting our time? We're not. We're playing this to win. Why are we listening to the pacifists?
There'll be some people back
50,
here.
the game has started. Okay, then we'll go.
Spread out.
Follow your I'm dead. Evan got me. He tricked me.
Yes, I got it.
Oh, I'm dead. Is it in? Show no mercy. Okay.
We're going in.
Where should we go? Where should we go? Where should we go in the mirror?
I told you, it's Kim Hyde.
Look at me. Do you like to lose? Do you like to lose?
I don't mind, to be honest. I'm not super competitive.
Okay. Yes.
I killed someone. I didn't kill. I killed that. I killed that. They should kill on my own. I killed that on my own. Well good. Heads up. I need it.
Oh, he's coming.
They're coming.
Peter's coming.
I'm dead. Go.
You don't scare us.
Yes.
Die.
Who won?
Hey,
we did.
We won.
Yeah.
Daniel, we won.
I signed up for that. You didn't know was there.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I died 3 times.
Yeah, this is Sylvester's book, which hopefully you've had a chance to see him as well. I know you guys interviewed him, and this is his book of photographs of L'Abri, the Waymo L'Abri in Switzerland I guess he took in the 70s, it's lovely actually because you look through, there's some people that actually live, our neighbours are in here that moved then here because of the English L'Abri. They talk about the Bible and the supernatural world. They talk about good that's really good and bad that's really bad. They try to be fair to every question, but they won't take relativism for an answer. Is it perfect? No, definitely not. It isn't perfect. Is it real? Yes, it's real. Didn't begin as an institution, it began as a family, and by the grace of God, it's a family still. This is God's work. It grew like a tree, and in God's own time, it will die.
We start the week with prayer because it's the foundation for the purpose of this place. This place is not just a nice, friendly community. Our purpose is to, through our lives and our work here, to demonstrate the reality that God is here, that He is here, a reality in our lives.
One of the most special things about L'Abri is, and maybe this will sound strange, maybe this is one of those things that you have to just experience it to understand, but I think pretty much anyone who has been here for any length of time would have had maybe not exactly this experience, but this type of experience. For me, it's like you walk up the stairs and you're like holding solidly onto the railing and the light is coming in through the big stained glass window and you just feel very safe. And you just feel like, this is it. Like there's a mathematician who said, the thing about math that's so powerful is it feels like you can like reach your hand into the guts of the universe and put your hand on the wire. And I think in a lot of ways, walking up the staircase, maybe you just had a really good conversation, maybe you just have a good cup of tea, like whatever it is. The sun is coming through, and you're like, I'm not leaving anytime soon. This is it. This is reality. And sometimes you just stop, and you're just like, I could stand here forever and could sit in this feeling. And it's so beautiful. Yeah.
We affectionately call this lecture the Leaving L'Abri lecture, but that really is only applicable for those of you who have been at L'Abri for a long time. So I don't think Edmund here is going to have much trouble leaving L'Abri.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think that's a big one with L'Abri, because we can make the unhelpful mistake of thinking about L'Abri as like either we love it and we want it to be, oh, this is real life, and life out there is not real life, or the opposite of like, oh, that was great, but that's because this isn't real life and out there is. And what I would encourage you is to just change those categories of like, it's not about is this real or not. This is different. Somebody I knew from Danny from Hungary, who some of you may know, once emailed the former director here, Andrew Fellows, and he was kind of talking about it. And, should I come back? It's not really, I don't want to be avoiding reality. And Andrew just got kind of annoyed and emailed him back. He said, what are you talking about? The whole thing we're trying to do here is encounter reality, actually, and stop distracting ourselves by that and thinking that's the real world. So that's one thing I would maybe begin my remarks here of be careful how you frame this place. And I would encourage you not to use the categories of this is all like, I'm going back to real life. You're going back to a life that has more responsibilities for sure. You're going to have to take care of more things. It's going to be, your energies will be dispersed, and that's challenging. But what we're doing here is very real. These people around you are very real. If nothing else, challenge that. If you start to say, oh, that wasn't real, you're basically saying the people you met aren't real. And I don't think that's true.
This bag is going to need to get repacked.
What are you going to miss the most?
I mean, it's hard to say anything other than the people. There's so much that's lovely about the rhythm of the time. There's so much that's wonderful about the freedom to ask questions about, delicious food. But finding yourself in such a lovely place with such wonderful people and knowing that perhaps you won't ever see many of them again, and certainly won't see them all together and experience the same dynamic and the same kind of jokes and all of that, but at the same time knowing that like it feels like you have to leave with such a big theology of the kingdom, because otherwise you would have no way to process what it is to kind of leave the place. Like you have to have that hope that there is someday coming where all the world will feel as real and hard and solid as this time, and that in that place all of these people will be there too, and we'll get to catch up and say, what happened after that? Like, tell me your stories, and there won't be any packing from that. You start to feel cheesy when you think things like that. But the only recourse in the presence of so much magic oh my gosh, guys, that was so lovely.
Okay, bye.
I feel so well loved. Thank you. Yes. So long. Glad you could come back. Oh, good to see you again. Good to see you as well. Ah! Oh, my back is cracked. Okay. Miss y'all too. Another I told you I'd be back soon. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ah, how sweet. Wow, I feel so loved.
How's it feel to go back to the real world from the fake world?
I am now rejecting the real fake dichotomy after Ellie's comment about them just being real in different ways.
Travel safe.
So wonderful.
Yes.
Hard to hug around the camera.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see y'all soon. I don't know when.
At the end of term, you know, on the last day, we ask everyone to leave. And I think that's when people ask me, is L'Abri a cult? I say no. One of the reasons is because we make everybody leave on the last day. We don't say, you've got to stay here and keep being a part of this and you can't go away. We say, no, it's time to go. You know, you've got to, and you can go into the world and, you know, we trust the Lord goes with you.
Sometimes there's really painful things that people are leaving to go to. And sometimes it's also just a sense of they've been in community and they're going to try to find people to live alongside and to share life. And I just get to pray for them and release them to the Lord's continued care for them and long for them.
There can be a profound discomfort in leaving L'Abri, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad to leave L'Abri. I think we often associate those two things together of like discomfort means that something is wrong. It's uncomfortable. I think leaving well can be something that's really, really hard to do, but it's something that's really, really important to do as well. Like leave with the understanding that this is supposed to be a shelter for a time and not your end place. Like this is not the end goal to be at L'Abri permanently.
You grow to really love people, and I want to see how they are, and I want to
see what God's been doing in them. And I really loved living in a community with people, and I found that really life-giving. And I thought I'd find it tiring, but I haven't at all. And working out what that looks like in life to live alongside people like that. Yeah, I find it a wonderful picture of like a good life. I think I want to pray honestly, like I was saying, whether I will do that after. I hope that I can learn and God will help me change.
This is a lecture about living musically. Living musically is not complicated on the surface. It's common to hear people use the language of music to describe life. We're first going to think about one voice by itself, and then we'll look at what happens in music and in life when we add other voices. Finally, we'll look at the role of dissonance and tension. So solo, unison, harmony. That's where we're going. My goal tonight is to feed our imaginations, to awaken the mind's ear, if you like, through art, to a wise and enriching life. So solo, let's start off. Before we sing with others, we sing by ourselves. Every person has a unique and multidimensional identity, and recognizing this is a profoundly dignifying thing. So if we want to have harmony in our lives and in our communities, the first thing we can learn from music is to take time to develop our own voices, to become comfortable with ourselves. We need solitude. Let's move on from one voice to multiple voices. There's a lot of work that needs to be done around here. It's a large and old property. There are lots of people to feed, lots of people to keep warm. And unlike most of the other things, discussions, study time, tutorials, tea breaks, work times really aren't the time for individual expression. When you're stacking wood, you are singing in unison. If everyone stacks wood in their own way, there won't be consistency, the wood won't season properly, and winter comes round and it's cold and there's no good wood for the fires and we're cold. But if everyone submits to the form and works in unison, it works. Our choir is taking shape. Solo, unison. Right, here comes the good stuff, harmony. I sometimes imagine that each of these entries up here are sort of L'Abri students. One by one, they come through the door of the manor, and it gets more and more complicated, and they create tension by their differences, and what happens is the existing community needs to adjust and move. When every person is listening and adjusting for balance, tuning, blending, the individual voices reinforce one another rather than competing. The parts serve the whole, but remain distinct. Now, this is much easier to hear than to explain, so we're going to listen to one last piece of music. This is the first phrase of Antonio Lotti's Crucifixus in 8 parts. And one by one, what you're going to hear is 8 voices are going to come in, starting with the lowest and working all the way up to the highest. As the parts come in, try to use your mind's ear to imagine community.
So you developed some new stamps after your summer term?
Yes, just one new stamp of the kitchen. It was what I would do on my study afternoon as a helper.
And have you enjoyed being in Edinburgh?
I really have. So basically, after L'Abri, I came home with no idea what I was going to do. I was like, I've accepted that I'm going to live at home for a bit, not sure what that means, if I'll get a job in Stirling or anything. And then I think it was maybe 2 weeks of being at home, I got a call from the owner of this cafe saying, do you want a job and a flat in Edinburgh? And I wrestled with that a bit and then obviously said yes to that. So I think it definitely feels like the place that God wants me to be. So I think that took a bit of time to get used to, but I feel definitely at home in Edinburgh and that this is the place that I should be.
After English L'Abri, I visited some family for the rest of the summer, and then I started my PhD in the fall in art history at McMaster University. That was all a bit trying, and I ended up burning out pretty hard. And it was actually my mom's idea to go to Southborough L'Abri the following summer. There's a lot of things that L'Abri experience has influenced. Like, well, first of all, I bought a ginormous tea kettle, or a teapot, I mean, right? It's like, I was never a huge tea drinker, but I was like, after L'Abri experiences, I was like, I want to be able to make tea for a large amount of people. So I bought the world's largest teapot.
Hello, hello.
there. How's it going?
It's good to see you.
Oh, it's very good to see you. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I don't know. We can hug around the camera.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in Santa Barbara since fall of 2020, more or less. Yeah, that's when I started college here. And then the first summer I went home to Colorado. And then last summer I was in England. So normally you have to talk to the guy at the counter and give him your cash, but I noticed that they had a new, like, next to the counter, this like touchscreen thing, and you could like prepay for your gas there. So I was like doing that, and then I was like, this is like, I felt kind of bad. I was like, this is like eliminating human like interaction. But then the guy behind the counter gave me this. He was like, here, it's for using the machine. So he was rewarding me not talking to him, I guess.
So he's a cartoonist for The New Yorker. But the reason I thought you'd like it is because so essentially, the whole book is in black and white. So his girlfriend, his mum, and the people in his apartment. And then there's this moment where this guy's fixing his toilet, and he tries to actually have a genuine conversation and like listen to each other and not do the kind of small talky, we're not really revealing anything about ourselves. And it's this huge moment. Here we are. So you like see his panic. Yeah, I feel embarrassed about myself around people like you, and they sort of, this kind of like, I feel like this, at this like genuine moment, and then it bursts into colour, and he's taking the risk to actually be known by someone, and it's a scary thing, like climbing a mountain. Anyway, I'll show the ending because it's very, very beautiful. And maybe some of the things like they're trying to teach us at L'Abri.
What was it like kind of saying goodbye to L'Abri after being there for 2 terms and finally going back to life in Scotland?
Yeah, it was quite difficult to say goodbye, but I knew that it wasn't a goodbye forever. I definitely think that God is going to send me back at some point. But yeah, I think it was more saying goodbye to the people of that term, because I think we just all became very close, and it was hard to say goodbye to them.
I remember the last day very distinctly, and what people said to each other, the things people said. And speaking to Catherine for the last time and speaking to each of the workers. And that it was such a vivid leaving and overwhelming being sent off. I'm really glad that I didn't stay, not because I don't love L'Abri and the community there, but because I needed to know that I can see God in my life when I'm not in the beautiful Narnia place. But that's a painful thing, because I'd known such a sense of goodness there, and I was so joyful. Like, my family, when I came back, they're like, and there's a kind of a bittersweet thing of, they were saying, like, we've never been this happy before in your life. But I needed to show that I can live outside of L'Abri, and that it's flourishing and healing here too.
Yeah, the trying things are still trying to find in all the noise, all the busyness, all the work, trying to find that still, quiet voice. It's so easy to just end up falling into the same routines and the same like because life is just it's life, you know. It's there is still deep down a shift.
Well,
So what you need to do, take this guy that Emery's working on.
Yeah.
Once she finishes zesting,
Okay, yeah.
and then mix this into here. Taste it, Emery, before you pass it off. Oh, I forgot to toast the almonds.
Every week we have whoever wants to show up at our house come. We cook a meal for them. Sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's 45 people. You just never know. Often until like Wednesday morning, which in and of itself I think is a challenge to my desire to like plan things in advance.
Incredible. South Charlotte. Welcome.
But it's a good thing, and we almost always have someone who's never come before. And we always start the meal by saying something to the effect of,
Okay, so welcome to Wednesday night dinner. This is something that we do as an extension of our faith, as a point of hospitality. We want you in our home. You are welcome here. Tonight we are having an orzo with lemons and onions and peppers. And thank you to Emery for chopping all the many things, and to Tim for helping with the...
I've been able to host a lot of meals here and be able to use these tables and put candles on and stuff like that. So I feel like that's something that of L'Abri that I've been able to do a lot, which I'm very grateful for.
We were talking about the power of the dinner table. I wanted to find a church community that was very community oriented. Every Wednesday lunch, we open the doors of the church and serve soup, fresh bread. In sharing that meal, you end up feeling like there's a leveling of the playing field and a going out of your way to treat other people as human. You know, it's like that can be just as impactful as the most sound theology, right?
So it's like this. That's a cool manor house.
there are things that make L'Abri L'Abri that are replicable there are people who architected this thing because they understood what the kingdom looked like, and they worked backwards, and they said, what would it look like to create an experience that echoes this, where people can rehearse for that time? And I think that's very hopeful, because what that means is that L'Abri is not something that exists in a particular place for any reason other than that it is L'Abri is here, but the emotion of it and the work of it and the relationality of it and the reality of it, like all of those things are things that can exist outside of the walls of L'Abri.
Yes. The hose water is the
Is that just like...
This is campus. This is the library. This is the rock. The thing to do as a freshman is to have like really, really deep chats with your friends on the rock at like 1 a.m. That's how you ingratiate yourself into the community. You can see the ocean actually from here. And this is the theater. Oh, I'm kind of thirsty. I'd love to go for a sip of water. This space has housed a lot of great and formative memories for me. So I come here even to do homework or just to like relax, and it's just a really, it just like feels like home in a lot of ways.
Did you end up finding a sense of clarity around your many questions at L'Abri?
G.K. Chesterton has this metaphor where he talks about being on the front porch of Christianity, and you can't decide if you want to open the front door and walk inside, or if you want to leave the porch and walk away from the house. And I felt like that's where I was last summer. And I think before L'Abri, I was definitely on a trajectory towards leaving the front porch and walking out of the house. And then I think I walked around the porch for a summer, and I think I peeked into the house and maybe stepped in a couple of times and walked back to the porch. And now I think I've kind of, I feel like I've kind of set up camp on the porch for the time being. Over the past year, I think that my relationship to Christianity probably would have faded and lessened a lot more than it has. And instead, over the past year, I still have just been kind of locked in this like confusing conversation that I probably would have quit and left a year ago if not for L'Abri.
Oh, good train shot. Love that. Yeah, these are residential canal boats, so this is a community that live around here. Yeah.
Partly I went to L'Abri because I became a bit of a, I don't know, I became quite comfortable being in my flat on my own, watching the US office, eating porridge, and becoming wild and untamed. And that isn't good, and that's less human. And I think I'm convinced of that now, that even if I sometimes don't want to, being around other people is good for me, and I need it. Yeah, I need it.
That was one of the biggest feelings of leaving, is starting to realize at the end how incredible some of these people were, and realizing that in the wake of knowing that I would maybe never see probably most of them again. So, and it's hard, and I try to stay in touch, and I'm really bad at it. And I also am cognizant of not trying to preserve something that isn't probably really meant to last long term. But yeah, I miss so many people.
Who do I miss? So I miss Ford. I think I miss Ford a lot. I think he was such a good presence, an addition to that term when he arrived. He just brought like a lot of light and fun to the term.
Gracie, her care of people, and I think she would have been a wonderful helper as well. Like, yeah, she's so thoughtful. Like, she organised my birthday, and she didn't know me very well, but just her thoughtfulness for me was unbelievable, really. Yeah.
I also miss Ellie as well. think Ellie was also a big presence in that term and was a lot of fun, but also very much there as, like, was willing to get serious and be there for you as well.
I miss Ellie a lot. I miss, yeah, I just miss her enduring and resilient spirit. And I miss, I miss AJ again. I said earlier, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Every person who goes is genuinely, and I think this is a very rare thing, celebrated as being made in the image of God, and the way that they're made is good. And you've got radically different characters, haven't you? And every time I've been, really different personalities, very different to me, and that whole thing of like, oh, you are as real as me, and you don't work in the way I do.
All of us collectively make up the image of God, right? So it's like that it's not just like a singular, this is the image of God. It's like we are the image of God.
Man, well, I had to take my last 2 gen eds, so I don't know that my mind has expanded as much as I would hope for it to be.
Who are Jen and Ed?
Stop. You have to stop. That was awful.
I know. It's this all the time, Ford.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, are you looking at this picture?
There's this hottie in a red dress and then some, like, monster.
You have to leave L'Abri holding in your hands both the mourning of having been at this place in this particular time with these people and knowing that it might not be that particular goodness again, and yet having experienced it, you see the kind of goodness that is possible everywhere.
I just want everyone to know that
is what's happening.
I'm dating up.
Oh, I think everyone knows. I don't think you need to go around announcing it.
Everyone knows.
Okay, have a great time. So good to hear from you.
Yes, good to hear from you too.
Later, buddy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
The wrong thing to take away is that L'Abri is a place for community, or that it is a place to receive hospitality. And not wrong in the sense that, like, that's bad. Those are the things we love about L'Abri. Like, we love the community, we love the relationships, we love the hospitality, we love the food, we love the beautiful surrounding, we love the lectures, we love the high teas, we love the pauses and the rhythms and the work and the study and all of it. But if you take any one of those things away and say rest is the thing that makes L'Abri magical, you miss the point. Because the point is God is real. And we have built this thing because it is shaped like God's reality.